That's unsettling. I didn't like that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Poor man.
That's the title of that painting, that drawing you're doing. We are accountable to no one. Where were you when this happened? Were you touring? Where were you? Like, where did this catch you?
I was on tour. No one wants to hear me. They want to hear you.
Frances, we're going to go both ways.
Hi. Oh dear. Can't hear you yet.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
We did it. We did it.
My manager, it happened.
How are you, Frances?
Oh, I'm just great. How about yourself?
Totally normal. Everything's so normal.
Am I right? Yeah, it was actually one of my questions that I'm just coming up with off the top of my head is, has it affected your day-to-day? And if so, care to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Absolutely.
I'm going to draw your face talking.
Oh, yeah, go bananas. I think for me, my life is very, I think maybe perhaps for you as well, there are times when I'm sure you guys are touring and it feels like you're full on and it's all, everything you're doing is in service of the show that night or whatever, the travel, all that. And so when I'm on a job, it's similar. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. But then if I'm not on a job and I'm home, I often do spend a lot of time at home, which isn't the worst, but I am a very social person. So I'm always having dinner with friends or going on a hike with friends or, I do, even when I'm here in LA, I do a lot of live performance. I perform at UCB Theater or other theaters doing improv shows, basically. And so to have that all go away has been really weird to be, I'm very lucky that, I'm in Los Angeles, so the weather is nice. I'm not having to combat, it's not the middle of winter, and I'm in, someplace very cold. So I'm lucky in a lot of regards, but it is really psychologically, a wild endeavor in isolation and loneliness.
Yeah, it's terrible to say that I'm not glad to hear you say that, but there is, there's been so many people writing about how they're being so productive right now, and that's great. But I was listening to this thing on the radio recently, and they were talking about how this is a time for like mourning your habits.
Yes.
In a way. And
I think I said a similar thing to someone the other night, which is that I'm grieving my routines.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a creature of those routines, those habits, I go to the same restaurants. I have dinner every Tuesday. I've been having dinner with my friend every Tuesday night for 9 years, and it's very sweet. We go to the same restaurant, we eat, we hang out, we catch up, all this stuff. But now we'll do it instead on a Zoom call tonight, which is lovely and very lucky that, a lot of the technology, which I try to not participate in normal life, is actually making it really viable to connect with people, which is great.
I was actually going to ask you about that. Yeah, just the fact that, oh my God, don't call me.
Oh my God. Frances, get it together.
That's my brother, Mark. I'm calling him out. Call me Mark.
How dare you? What a dick move. Drummers are the worst. And I say that as a drummer.
I was going to ask, do you have now that you have all this time, do you have a kit?
I do not have a kit set up. And you know what is even worse? That I've been for the last 3 months dragging my feet in, literally trying to buy a kit to set it up, but I've been dragging my feet. And then just as this hit, I was like, oh no, why didn't I just pull the trigger? I mean, my neighbors wouldn't be happy, but I would be so delighted to be able to be playing right now.
Do you have any guilty pleasure distractions lately that you would divulge?
Trying to think. I don't know that I would consider any of my, I'm not guilty pleasure person. I mean, I'm proud of all the pleasures. I'm trying to think. I will say, like, for me, I find it, to your point earlier, you were saying, people are saying how, oh, it's so great. I was talking to a friend who was like, I'm getting so much done, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm writing, it's going so well. Or some other friends of mine were getting stuff done. I find it impossible to do anything that is meaningful, that is like work or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, like, I've been doing really just like, I organized all my records. I'm organizing my books, like just dumb house project nonsense that for me feels like, oh, okay, at least I got that done, I've watched Tiger King, as everybody else has.
I'm the only one who hasn't. Damn it.
No, it's fine. It's like, watch it. It is satisfying. I understand why people, I didn't love it. I thought it was interesting and certainly fun, because what's delightful about it is every episode, they introduce more new characters because the story has so many characters. And each and every person they introduce seems like another SNL character. Like, everybody feels like enormous, larger than life characters. If you made a movie of these people, as an audience, you'd be like, this is absurd. These are too big. These performances are too big. These characters are too outlandish to be believable. But in fact, they very much are. So it was fun.
I started watching, I don't know why, but I started watching the Vietnam doc that Ken Burns.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, Ken Burns, yeah.
I'm worried that I'm getting dumb. So I just.
Oh, interesting.
A little bit, just a tiny bit of.
Yeah, well, that's not bad. I don't mind that. Yeah, that's funny though. I like that you're giving yourself homework, and that homework is the Vietnam War.
Well, it's also been really humbling. No one needs for me to do anything, really. I mean, like, not that I didn't know that before, but it's just really obvious now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say it that way, but, everyone's muddling through this. So that's been really humbling, just knowing, like, oh, I'm the only one that's going to make myself do anything.
Yeah. No, yeah, we are accountable to no one.
Yeah, that's unsettling. I didn't like that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Poor man.
That's the title of that painting, that drawing you're doing. We are accountable to no one.
If only you could see all the questions I have, like, crazily scrawled out around me.
You want to ask a question? Go ahead, Frances. I'll answer all your questions.
I actually did want. I hope you don't mind me asking about your voice acting work, because
sure.
To me, it's the coolest, most fun job that I can think of. Like, I used to be super into. I don't know. You ever listen to old radio theater?
Sure, of course. Yeah.
That, to me, I thought that was like the most fun job. Like, just like,
oh, yeah,
sound effects and stuff that people were.
Oh yeah, to be a Foley artist.
Yeah.
That's the person who makes all the sound effects, who's like clop, 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 clop. Well, it makes all the sounds of the horses and all that stuff. Oh yeah.
Well, there's this one old radio show called Lights Out that would do these. It was like the most gruesome radio show that was on in the 40s, and they would come up with sounds for turning people's insides out.
Yeah.
Wet rubber glove and just pull it the other way. And since I was next to that, I feel like voice acting is as much fun.
It's pretty fun. I will say it's very fun. I get it's very fun. And then also a bunch, like I do a voice on for the show Big Mouth on Netflix, for example.
Love that show.
And it's so great. But what's great about it, frankly, is it really predominantly is all of my peers that I came up with, in comedy. So it's not just an incredibly well-written show and a show that has a lot of heart and is very sweet and also deeply hilarious and dirty and funny. I also get to like do it with some of the people that I've known and have been close with for 15 to 20 years. So it's this wonderful kind of thing that we get to all do together, because a lot of times in normal circumstances, we will record together in the same room so that you can see each other and kind of riff off of each other and have the discovery in the moment be possible, rather than just, there are other shows where, I go in, I get my paper, and I just read my lines straight through, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's another way of doing animation. So both are super fun. And especially because I watch a lot of another show that to me is deeply comforting in this time is Bob's Burgers.
Oh yeah.
Which I'll rewatch Bob's Burgers all the time. So fun. It's just such sweet, wonderful, hilarious, heartwarming family stories. I love it. So, I love animation in general, and as a job, it can be a ton of fun. And it's also, like everybody always says, it's very easy in the sense that I can go in and record a whole episode in 2 hours. I don't have to go through hair and makeup. It doesn't take a week to shoot the episode. It doesn't, it's very, in that way, it's a lovely job to do in that regard.
Do you get to improvise still? I mean,
we do, yeah. On Big Mouth especially, because they try and put us in the same room together. You can improvise a bunch, yeah, which is fun. And especially to a lot of that cast, all come from improv backgrounds. So there's definitely like a fair amount of, they're great scripts. It's the writer's room on Big Mouth is amazing, like murderer's row of writers on that show. And then when we get in the room, we kind of, we can diverge a little bit. We can be like, oh, what's here is great, but what if we just kept it going, and just built off of that? And sometimes it makes it in, and sometimes it just cracks us up. But that's part of it too, is also just having fun and being kind of in the moment on a process level translates to the final product. We did a live table read over Zoom it was on Zoom, but it was broadcast on YouTube and it was a fundraiser for a charity, I believe, called feedingamerica.org. And it was it was broadcast live, and people could donate to support the charity. And I think it still is up on YouTube now, so you can still watch the read. And it's all the cast, in all the tiny boxes, all reading this one episode of Big Mouth from season 3. And it raised a bunch of money for a charity that, and if you can go watch it right now and still donate. The charity still needs money, so it's worth seeking out, for both reasons, entertainment and an opportunity to give back.
Hell yeah.
Where were you when this happened? Were you touring? Where were you? Where did this catch you?
I was on tour. No one wants to hear me. They want to hear you.
Frances, we're going to go both ways.
I was on tour. I was actually in LA. I left LA in March.
I did not hear from you. I'm furious.
I didn't think you'd want to
come. How dare you? How dare you?
Everyone was freaked out. I had family members that were just like, hey, this is a little too much, which is fair. I mean, I've been touring for like 15 years, and I've never encountered this. I've had all kinds of things get canceled for all sorts of reasons, but never.
Oh yeah.
this particular
Never global pandemic. Oh, interesting.
pandemic, you know, and I get to tell, you know, I get to talk to my niece about that someday. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did our last How Did This Get Made taping tour show in Vancouver, like at the very end of February. No, at the very end of January. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And that's when it was really starting to kind of bubble and be like, this is bad. It really hadn't landed much here, but in like the international arrivals in Vancouver, it was like bedlam and everybody looked freaked out. And I was like, this is no good. We gotta, I'm glad we don't have more dates after this, because I don't think we want to be doing any kind of air travel at all, which is crazy.
And also, what a sad thing that people that want to come see you are scared in any way to be there. Like, that's a bummer. I don't want people.
Oh, and how you know, what an insidious thing that this awful, horrible nightmare that we are all collectively experiencing together, the thing that it's causing is for us to be afraid of each other. We don't get to like share in like the same way that if this was a natural disaster or something, we could all come together for something. There really is, in facing this, the only way to successfully beat this is to not trust and distance yourself from other people, which is terrifying. You know, I'm really scared for and sad for how long this is going to last, and for what a footprint it's going to live on people's, especially young people's, ideas of like intimacy and, you know, trusting other people and touching other people, or all this kind of stuff that is like, you know, the generation that's going to be like, remember when we were in whatever high school or college, remember when we were young and for like a year you couldn't like go near other people? It's going to be really weird.
Or like, remember how fucking gross we used to be? Is also
oh yeah
something.
Oh yeah. So I'm trying to find things to be like, great, I'm going to do this, so that I can have trying to make structure out of nothing when there are no expectations is quite difficult.
Well, it's funny you say that, because you and I've listened to some interviews and you just make sure I don't ask you questions that you get all the time. And you definitely strike me as this I imagine you as this very disciplined person in general.
Not entirely, you know. It is, I would love to be more disciplined. I would love to, kind of what you're saying, I would love to be better at like, no, I'm gonna learn this thing, you know, or it's very easy for me to kind of want to learn. Piano's the perfect example. I wanted to get better at playing the piano. I got a piano, I put a piano in, and now I just kind of like, you know, tinker around, but I don't really, now would certainly be a time where I could. I'm certain there's a million perfectly good beginner piano lessons on on YouTube rather, that I could watch, you know. I'm sure I could go on YouTube and watch a lot of stuff and learn how to be a better piano player, but I'm not, you know.
It's also a very humbling instrument, like an instrument that when you don't play well, it makes me feel stupid, especially having an instrument
Sure.
I finally have figured out, like I can play rhythm guitar pretty dependably, and piano is just like very, I don't know. Yeah, it's humbling.
Oh, yeah, because then you listen to Bill Evans play Autumn Leaves and you're like, well, how do I not only play this instrument, but make it sound like absolute heartache? Like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing for the record I put out in January. Like I wanted to write piano for that so that I didn't spend hours in the studio, you know, valuable recording time learning a piano part. It's like tried to learn it at home, and I got very angry. And it's the most rudimentary piano part. It's very, very easy. Anybody could pick it up. I'm trying to make you look happier.
Oh, don't worry about it. I rarely look happy.
I got it. We got this far.
I love it.
This.
Yeah. I
Maybe,
love it.
maybe I'll color your beanie. That'd be cool. A little accent.
Sure.
What's that you got hanging behind you on the wall? The big portrait with the striped.
Oh, the big portrait is,
Is that a paint? Looks like a painting, right?
yep. It's, my house is full of paintings of people that I get in places.
Oh, nice. That's rad.
Yeah.
Who's the artist?
P. Grebstein, no idea.
All right.
Most of them come from like auctions or Etsy or eBay or, you know, estate sales or, you know, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ask if you have like favorite visual artists.
I don't really. That's, I will say this, the way that you are saying like, oh, I want to learn more about X music or I want to learn more about whatever. One of my blind spots genuinely is art. Is like,
Spots. It's so elitist, unfortunately.
yeah, I really am like, I was in, although, you know what, I did see something this year that was really wonderful, which was, I lived in London for most of the fall on a job, and there was a Lucian Freud exhibit that was there.
Yeah.
Was
At the
the self-portraits.
Yeah. I got to see
it. Was amazing.
Yeah.
So again, and I don't know, I didn't really know anything about Lucian Freud. A friend brought me because he was like, oh, I want to, while I'm here, I want to see this exhibit. And it is Lucian Freud's only limited to his self-portraits. And it spans from like his teen years in the 40s all the way through till right as he's an old man and dying in like 2009 or 10, I think. I can't remember when the last one is. And it unfolds chronologically, and it's fascinating because you're watching someone's style evolve when they are almost, but each portrait is almost exclusively himself. Some of them are like, it's a portrait of someone else, but he's in the mirror behind them or something. Like it's really interesting. It was a fascinating exhibit. So like that, I really enjoyed, but like art is something I'm woefully ignorant of, frankly.
That's a great show. I'm well done.
Yeah, thanks. Credit my friend. My friend had good taste. I really enjoyed it because I was like, oh, I like that this isn't just some sprawling like show of an artist's work. It's limited to just these self-portraits, which was cool.
How about cooking? What are you cooking?
This has been for me the hardest component of this is I don't cook really. I mean, I'm not at all a cook. So I am, I can muddle through, but that has been one of the hardest things in acclimating to this solitary life is like, oh boy, I got to figure out what am I going to eat and how am I going to make it? And I'm trying to look up recipes, and I'm someone who predominantly, most of my nights are spent having dinner with friends out at restaurants or, for the most part, doing that. So it's almost never am I cooking. And so that I'm like barely getting by, Frances. I'll be honest with you. It's not great.
I mean,
how about you?
I do not make new things unless I'm with a person. Like if I'm cooking with someone, I'll dig up a recipe. When I'm by myself, I don't have the patience. I do piles.
Yep.
I had the idea of a restaurant I'm gonna start. It's called Frank's Piles.
Yeah.
No one take that. It's mine.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of like, similarly, I bought a lot of like soups and stuff that I can just heat up or whatever, and or I can make rice and some vegetables. And, like I've got a lot of like slop bowls, it's like a bowl of a bunch of different slops, and like, that's fine by me.
A lot of chefs eat that. You see like what they make at home, and it's
Yeah.
not fine. I mean, I think it's a savory slop. It's great. I just
Let's open our restaurants side by side.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open slop bowls. You open Frank's Piles.
That's what you're supposed to do at some point in your career, is open a restaurant, right? That's what a lot of musicians do. Open
Oh yeah.
bars. So I'll hit you up.
Please do. I would love to invest in Frank's Piles.
It's a winner, right?
It definitely, I will be honest, it definitely sounds like piles of shit. It definitely sounds like, what are those in the backyard? Oh, those are Frank's piles. He refuses to use the bathroom.
I just want to test people. I just want to test their threshold. I had a really great, I have great food truck ideas. Like,
oh yeah?
Soup yourself, self-serve soup truck.
I love that.
Right?
Just like soup on tap.
It's the worst thing. It would be the worst thing you could possibly have on a truck.
Yeah.
This wouldn't work at all. All the ladles.
Yeah. How about just like a gravy truck?
You have to bring it's just gravy.
Yep. We're just doing the gravy. You bring whatever you want to put gravy on. We'll bring the gravy.
Yeah. I like testing people. Character building for others.
I agree.
Branching out. To step away from the current state of things, I wanted to say that when I was listening to your interview with Mark Maron from a while ago, you were talking about how you traveled for a whole year. And I really realized as a touring musician that I have never been away from home for that long.
Yeah, it was about 2 years. It was almost 2 years. And it was, and I was also like, what was I, 24 years old? It was also like, I realize now, I was also very young to just leave and live away for 2 years. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy to not come back at all. It was crazy to not, it's one thing to like move away, but I go back home every couple of months or whatever.
Yeah,
it was weird to be like, oh no, I will not be back.
You're not allowed. You weren't allowed to come back, right?
Correct, exactly. That's the stipulation. So I got a grant to do a music project, and their stipulation is if you take our money, you can't come back. Like the point of this is you just move forward in your project. So yeah, no, it was pretty crazy. It was this bit of isolation and stuff is reminiscent of, for me, it was very difficult initially because I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody to talk to. It was very isolating and lonely. And until I kind of got in my groove and found my routines, like we were talking about earlier, until I found a way to kind of build days and also started to figure out how to do my project there. It was like super lonely and very weirdly reminiscent of what I feel now. Just kind of like, well, what do I do today? How do I make something of this day? I'm awake and I have uninterrupted time and no real plans, so it was weird. And it was an amazing experience. And I saw unbelievable stuff and traveled to lots of amazing places. And yeah, it was really, I will say, it was very strange to be, having never really traveled much. My family didn't travel really. We weren't a family that traveled around the world or anything like that. We were very much, grew up in suburban Boston. I went to college in Vermont, very, very nearby in New England still. So the idea that I then got on a plane and went to Morocco and then started living in North Africa and the Middle East for 2 years was, very jarring to a 23-year-old me, or whatever I was, 24. Yeah.
Well, I feel like most Americans are going over to Europe or something. So it's already most people already like will speak English to you if they know, because people are used to Americans not being bilingual.
Oh yeah.
But to be somewhere
Oh
where
yeah.
it's not the norm.
And it was also hard to penetrate beyond interacting with countries just on a tourism level, because for the most part, people are there, Americans are there for tourism. But it was hard to be like, oh, no, I'm here directly to find and talk to musicians about a specific kind of music. And that was hard to kind of navigate, frankly, really, because I wasn't affiliated with any kind of university or anything like that. I was very much kind of, and that's, I think, a little bit the point of, it's called a Watson Fellowship, the thing that I got. I think part of their thing is, yeah, we want you to study we want you to do this project that you're excited to do. But I think also part of it is they want you to have to figure out how to do it. That in and of itself, I think, is the larger project, not just the paper I wrote about, music, not just the ethnomusicology kind of stuff I was doing. I actually think the greater goal is figuring out how to, as an individual, succeed at this thing that is quite difficult,
It's really rad that you had that instilled, because I feel like even earlier than, I don't know, I'm thinking about the last generation that was taught to just like open a car hood and see what was up.
Sure.
I mean, that's not really, that's my whole family. All of my aunts and uncles want to get right. Like if there's something wrong, they want to figure it out.
Well, now all of our cars are, like, for the most part, run by computers. So it doesn't even matter. To look under the hood, on a modern car is pointless, because it's such a complex thing now, a car. There isn't any more like, oh, I can do that. I can do this, beyond, fixing a flat or, changing a battery or something like that. Almost everything else in a car now is run by a computer, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess there's also, don't you feel like there's this inherent fear, like, oh, that's not my field. I can't really, like, just in other things too, like,
oh, sure,
let a professional take care of this. And
oh, absolutely.
Like, it's a cool thing to have this, like, well, what's the worst? Like, I think you were saying this in an interview at one point, that you got to encounter the worst that could happen by being in a situation like that. In some ways,
oh, sure,
the worst, but like, just to,
no, I mean, the worst that, for me, what I could imagine as the worst things, like I was forced so far out of my comfort zone that it was, those were such formative learning experiences for me to be pushed so far out of my comfort zone in a lot of these places and have to figure out how to build and succeed at relationships, at the project that I was doing, at finding a place to live, at all of the stuff that I needed to do to not just get by, but kind of thrive, in these places. And that was so, it was so important. It was so important to learn those skills to then come back here and then move to New York and start trying to do comedy, again, to like start from zero and try and build something in a world that I really wanted to kind of succeed in,
Oh yeah. Well, I think you are. I think you're killing it.
I don't know. We'll see. One of these days.
Do you have any advice for anybody right now? Any advice?
Right now, it's so hard. What advice right now for people? I mean,
it's not a fair, aggravating question. We're all lost.
Yeah, I mean, really, everybody's lost. I don't know. I mean, I think that for creative people, I think really it is just, keep trying to, like what you're doing right now, you're finding a way to like have conversations, be creative, be artistic, but also like have interesting conversations with people. I'm assuming this was interesting. I have no idea.
Well, I enjoyed it.
But finding new way, like this is gonna, I mean, who knows what it'll look like and how it will be, but this is gonna yield a whole set of things that are brand new versions of whatever, of a talk show. Like we're gonna have all of these, you know, all of, you know, just even watching musicians play from their homes or watching comedians podcast or video live stream, you know, stuff from their homes. I think people are starting to cut together, you know, like video sketches and stuff like I think people are going to find ways to creative people are always going to find ways to put stuff out, right? The bummer is, I think, for somebody like me, nostalgically, I'm like, oh, but what about the comedy club? But what about the audience? But what about, and who cares? Like that's back then. And the thing is always growing and morphing. And, you know, the comedy that I do now, if I go to UCB, if it was normal and I went to UCB and did a show tonight, it would be totally different than the experience of doing it, of the audience watching it, would be totally different than if when I did a show in UCB in New York 20 years ago. You know, the thing itself has grown and morphed and changed. So why shouldn't it still continue? What's going to be weird is I am curious what this pandemic worldwide does to creative people, you know?
Yeah, that's something I've been very, I guess, anxious about, is trying to wrap my head around how to be a part of something that I completely don't understand. Especially, I mean, I've already, and you as somebody who I admire the fact that you don't, you know, that you kind of stay away from any kind of like particular brand online so much. I mean, like you use it, but it's not a part of your artistic identity. And musicians, and it's really cool to see all of these late night sessions. Like Questlove has been doing these late night DJ sets, and I think that's cool. And other artists that are performing, but I don't feel comfortable in that environment. Like I was trying to make a video the other day, and I could feel myself just like, not to be dramatic, but it is kind of not draining, but it's just, you're putting out this energy that's just going into space.
Yeah, sure.
And then maybe
and it never comes back. It never comes back. It's like telling a joke and not hearing a laugh.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I've seen some people that like insert laugh tracks into there.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
I guess that's a alternative. I hope there's room for both. I hope that with the evolution, there's still, I mean, maybe it'll be even more retro to go to a club and people will be attracted to that.
Oh, and the reality is, without being too dramatic or anything, the reality is, as terrifying as this is right now, you know, at some point, it is finite. At some point, there will be a vaccine. At some point, there will be some sort of antiviral for this. You know what I mean? And so, but it's just likely not for quite some time. And so this will be a weird bubble we will have all lived through, you know? But I think, you know, I think all of that stuff will come back, you know, concerts, comedy shows, audiences, of course. It's not going to go away, but how, you know, there's going to be a point where they're like, yeah, everything's fine, go back. You can go to comedy shows. But how long until people are like, am I really going to go? I know they said it's safe, but should I go? You know?
Right. There's going to be some growing pains, I guess.
Yeah. And then some months after that, when everything is pretty much normalized and we know how to treat it and we know how to whatever, everything will go back to some version of, I'm sure for both of us, you know, rooms full of people that we can perform to that are happy that we are there performing. And that's wonderful. And boy, do I look forward to that time, you know, both selfishly, because I want to be performing, and selflessly because I know it brings joy to the audience, you know. Both of us need it, really. So I don't know. I think it's just, my concern is just how far away is that? When is there a viable vaccine, antiviral? When does this just become a thing that if you get it, here's the Tamiflu version, here's the thing, here's the treatment, rather than we don't know, now it's airborne. Ooh, everything feels like every week we're getting new information that is somehow scarier.
I know, right? Yeah, we're still in that stage. It's like, here's how much worse it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So much worse. And we're still in the zone where, and I don't know when this will be released or anything like that. Are we live right now or no?
No.
No, okay.
I don't think so.
I don't know when this will be released, but like we're still currently at the point where, it is only getting worse. It is still only, we have not yet hit the peak. And so this is a particularly terrifying stage of this to be in.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're still getting to participate in the work that brings you joy to some extent, but
yeah,
in the same capacity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very, I'm lucky in that way. I'm grateful that we can still do some of these recordings, and that some of them have, like I said, have been put out on YouTube or whatever, so that people can see stuff, so that people have stuff to watch.
Absolutely. And oh dang.
Because people are really thirsting for more content. Here's the thing, Frances, there's not enough content.
No, but it's been such a joy talking to you. I had one more fucking question.
Go for it.
I lost it. Oh, I mean, that's kind of a corny question. Do you keep a journal? Just curious.
I don't. No. The only thing I do that I haven't been doing lately, but that I tend to do, is I keep a media journal. I write down everything I watch or read or listen to.
Well, that's smart for the sake of this creative development.
Just for the sake of kind of tracking. Mostly it's what I watch, like podcasts that I listen to, that kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't, if I just listen to a record, I wouldn't put that on there, but if I watch, just to kind of keep track of movies, TV, podcasts, stuff that I've, and then at the end of the year, I kind of am like, oh, Steven Soderbergh, I ripped this off wholly. Steven Soderbergh does it and publishes it.
Oh, dang.
Every year. And I read it one year, I don't know, years and years ago when he put it out. And I was like, whoa, this is fascinating, because you're watching him be like, oh, if you notice, like in August and September, he watched The Social Network 6 times. Like, that's interesting. Like, why is he, or when he's like, you can tell, oh, must have been when he was working on that horror movie he did, because he was just watching other horror movies kind of thing. It's neat on a kind of process and a behind the scenes level. So I just started doing that because I don't know, that's all I really do. That, and I write like lists, but I keep no kind of like journal. No. Do you?
I keep a journal. If I did the thing you're saying, that would be utterly humiliating. Like,
yeah.
Cheers.
Hey, that's great. Not bad at all. I am, one of my other very kind of comforting things is to listen to the Harry Potter books on audiobook.
Oh yeah? Hell yeah.
That's another like perfect, like winding down, headed to bed, kind of almost bedtime story kind of thing, because I love those books and, have forever. So to have them be, to just have that kind of, I know them so well, I can just open it up and listen and be wherever I listen to whatever, and know the story. And that's also comforting in its own way, to like sit and do a jigsaw puzzle and listen to Harry Potter or Dolly Parton's America, which you mentioned, like podcasts. Like I love podcasts. So like, stuff like that, or audiobooks, but podcasts especially, it's like, that's a thing that's very easy for me to kind of disappear into for a little while and put my mind elsewhere and not on the news cycle or the whatever.
Would you ever do an audiobook?
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like it would be cool.
When you write your book, I will be the narrator, Frances.
Oh, you say that now. Yeah, cool.
Great.
I've had
Deal.
such a good time talking with you. This has been wonderful for me, and I'm glad to hear that you're
I had a blast.
enjoyed it too. Well, this is how it looks now. I really only added a few touches, but just one last look at the portrait.
I love it. I love it. It's so good.
It's hard to talk and draw and listen at the same. I'm learning a lot, but this is.
You did a great job. You did a great job. It's a cute Greek garden gnome.
Thank you for carrying the conversation when I.
Not at all. Let me know. I'll happily do it again if this becomes a standing series. You just let me know.
We should bookend it. We should do one at the end. We're just like, it's all over. Like, we're back into the world. Where are you excited
Done.
about? Look at my
Deal.
hands. Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you get to eat some good food tonight.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy your chickpeas.
I will. I just got 2 more cans, so I'm really.
Oh, cool brag.
Right? I'm gonna keep that. I'm not keeping that. Thank you so much, Jason.
Absolutely. Take care, Frances.
You too. So,
Bye.
bye. I don't know how. That was Jason Mantzoukas, ladies and gentlemen. What a thrill. What a great subject. I put his eyes too far apart, but it's like I said, this is a new challenge. I'm hoping to get better. Sorry, Jason, and thank you. Sorry. But yeah, here's the image, and maybe I feel like you should stay true to it, right? But hope you all are having a great day, whatever day it is that you're seeing this, and so long. This has been Quick Drawl with Frances and Friends. Bye.